Saludos everybody, welcome back to Decentshirt, where we play cards while we wear decent shirts. And for today's video we have thundering news because we have our Thunder Nexus deck profile for you guys. So let's get right on to the video. Alrighty guys, so let's get on to our quick deck profile, starting off by showing the cards. We got 3 Astrabbit, 3 Jolton, 3 Toxion, 3 Elechik, 3 Sparkit, 1 Griffuse, 1 Voltempest, 2 Mount Olympus, 3 Race to the Top, 3 Ambrosias, 2 Circle the Sky, 3 Zeus, 3 Gorgon's Cases, 3 Poison Tipped Arrows, 2 Shield of Achilles, and lastly 2 Tsunamis. Now let's move on to the spirits. Moving on to the spirits, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 Thunder Spirits or Saptors. We have 3 Lycras and 2 Leviathans. Now let's get on to the deep dive of the deck. As you've already seen the deck, you already can see that this is a deck focused primarily in consistency. That's what Thunder Nexus is really known for, and that is what this deck is trying to go for the most part. We're running the 3 Astrabbits, which is arguably one of the best cards in the game. It lets you set up, it's a great defensive body on the board, and you are able to abuse this card more than any other deck due to the nature of nexusing Thunder Spirits. I don't really have to go too much in detail, just the fact that you are able to proc Astrabbit more than 1 turn in this deck is absolutely insane, and is what basically makes this deck so resilient and so powerful. We also run 3 Jolton, and the reason for this is because we are running the stadium, as most people now with Thunder Nexus, since we do have access to Race to the Top, which we will discuss later on. Jolton has 4 attack, 2 defense. When it's cast, you can search for a stadium. In this case, you will be looking for Mount Olympus, and it's a great solid body that has 4 attack, which comes in really clutch, and that 4 attack really turns into a 5 attack because more often than not you're going to be searching for the stadium and casting the stadium that same turn. Then we do have 3 Toxion. Toxion is a very dangerous card in terms for your opponent because similar to Astrabbit, it is a receive effect, therefore you are able to proc its effects multiple times in a turn. It also does have 4 attack, which also makes it so a very solid attacker for this deck. And you will see later on that this deck is going to be able to proc Astrabbit and Toxion in a way that you really have to ask yourself, why did they allow you to have both of these effects in the same deck? We do also have 3 Elechik. Elechik is one of the most important cards of this deck, though we do have Astrabbit and Jolton and Toxion are all equally important. Elechik is arguably the most important card because you are able to search for the Zeus, which enables basically all your plays. So it is very important to get that Zeus turn 1, and Elechik is the card to get that. We do have 3 Sparkits. Some people only run 2 nowadays. I decide to run 3. You want to be super consistent, and you just want to make sure that you get the maximum the maximum options and probabilities of being able to see this card as soon as possible. Now, this is where this deck seems a little bit different because it is Thunder Nexus at the end of the day, but I did want to splash in something different, something that would help. And some people might say that this is arguably a win harder card, and I would agree with them, but if you see the meta as it is currently, you will notice that there's not a lot of protection against Voltempest. And Thunder Nexus itself really, in my opinion, struggles a lot against Voltempest because they can outpace you and it's really hard for them to out Voltempest, especially if you have the Zeus. Unless they're running things like Pegas or even a Thunderstorm, it's very unlikely that you will be able to get over the Zeus, and therefore Voltempest will stay in the field, and that can be a solo win against many decks that are not prepared for it. Especially with all the aggro decks that are currently in the deck or currently in the format, like Morphrost, Cryoburn, Scorch. They're very aggro decks similar to Wind, and those decks just fall flat against Voltempest. So definitely wanted to include at least the option. It is not very hard. Once you get the Griffuse, you can get to the Voltempest, or even if you draw into it, you can also very safely cast the Voltempest if you're able to set up your board. Now, we are running 2 Mount Olympus. I did consider running 3 since we are seeing a lot of other decks outside of Thunder Nexus running their stadiums. However, I thought that 2 was good. I did want to be super consistent, and since we are running the 3 Jolten, I think 2 was enough. We are running the 3 Race to the Top, and this card is depending on Mount Olympus. What does it do? Basically, you can target 2 Elestrals in play and destroy the Elestral with the lowest defense, which it can only be casted. This card can only be casted if we have Mount Olympus, so therefore that's why we need the combo. But this is such a strong card that honestly it warrants its inclusion, because you can search. If you start with Jolten and Race to the Top, you basically have the combo. If you have a Mount Olympus already and you have Race to the Top, you can also do that. And basically against an Astrabbit with 6 defense with the Mount Olympus in play, it's gonna be very hard for your opponent to have a higher defense than your Astrabbit under Mount Olympus. Alright, we do have 3 Ambrosias because we want maximum recursion. We don't really use that many spirits in this deck in terms of losing spirits, but the idea of being able to draw an Ambrosia just swings so much in the price trade or in the life trade that honestly it warrants the inclusion of the 3 Ambrosias. We do run 2 Circle of the Sky. Some people run Circle of the Sky. Some people don't. I personally like running 2 Circle of the Sky. It has great synergy with the Astrabbit, with the Toxians, and it also lets you ramp so you are able to set up your Voltempest. So that's why I run the 2 Circle of the Sky, just added consistency as well. We do run 3 Zeus. One of the most, if not the most important card, right, alongside with the Elechik, because this is what it enables the Astrabbit, is what allows your beaters or your attackers to run over higher attack Elestrals, and it also enables Spark It. So also Voltempest needs it, Griffuse needs it. So Zeus, you want to see it as soon as possible, as many times as possible, and honestly, it's just a really good, solid card that has so many utility in this deck. And you want to see as many outs to it as possible in a game. We do have 3 Gorgons, best card in the game. Stops anything. It's a big fat no to everything. 3 Poison Tipped Arrow. Okay, so we're running 3 Poison Tipped Arrow instead of 2. Normally you see 3 Shield and 2 Poison Tipped Arrow. But if you see the current landscape of the meta, you will notice that a lot of defensive decks have started raising in popularity. And that's why Poison Tipped Arrow is actually many times better than a Shield of Achilles, because most of those defensive decks like their Tagua or Lakugan and their Taya, Lokigons or Lolagons, I always confuse them. They like to play very defensive. They're not going to attack until they have the huge momentum of the board presence. Therefore, Poison Tipped Arrow is a great answer to that. Not only that, but you also are very weak to cards like Lavalith. And Lavalith is not going to lose to a shield for the most part, and even if they run into the shield, you're just returning it to their hand. This deck likes to conserve a lot of spirits on board, so honestly, it's really better just to run the 3 Poison Tipped Arrows over the 3 Shield of Achilles. We do run the 2 Shield of Achilles that we mentioned. Shield of Achilles is still a really good card. It helps you clear the board. It's a really solid card, and overall, a nice protection for the deck. Lastly, we do have 2 Tsunami. Tsunami is still a really solid card. We're not playing 3 ofs because we are trying to make space for stuff like the Poison Tipped Arrow and the Circle of the Sky and the Voltempest, but it's still a very solid card. Water is a lot more popular nowadays, so therefore Tsunami has lowered in popularity or use, but it's still a really solid card, and I would definitely side the 3rd copy in my side deck. Well, that was the deck. Now let's go on to our Spirit explanation. Alright, let's move on to our Spirit count explanation. We do have a huge amount of Scepters because we are running 15 of them. And the main reason for them is because we do want to play as many Thunder Spirits on the board as possible, and we always want to have access to them. Normally these 4 would be Terratless, so you could run the Earthquake package. However, this deck opts to go for the Race to the Top and Joltin core, therefore these turn into Thunder Spirits. We do run 3 Wind Spirits so we can use our Voltempest and Refuse combos, and we do run 2 Leviathan just to round about and make sure that we have our Tsunamis always live. Worst case scenario, the 2nd Leviathan can also be helped to go against Tsunamis, opposing Tsunamis. You are able to bypass it when you enchant it with a Leviathan. So that's basically it. It's not really that complicated. It is very straightforward. That is what Thunder Nexus is at the end of the day. Very straightforward. Simplicity at its finest, but it's super consistent, super strong, and super disruptive. So hopefully you guys liked the video. I'm going to go to the outro now and talk about what are the implications for this deck. The power of Thunder Nexus cannot be understated, for sure, for it has dominated so many tournaments in the past. So I hope that you guys got a kick out of watching my version of the Thunder Nexus, and hopefully you'll try it out soon in the future. Well, having said that, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Decentshirt signing out.